you all, this is E-Man Booze. Whenever we plan a trip, we make a concerted effort to visit a local craft distillery or two. You see, we have over 600 craft distilleries in the United States now, and more are on the way. So when you visit a craft distillery, you can get up close and personal with the owner, the master distiller. You can check out all the beautiful copper pot steels that these distilleries have, and the barrel houses, and all the neat architecture. And it's just a fun time. And you get to learn a lot about artisanal spirit making in general. So a couple of weeks ago, we visited Cooperstown, New York. We were up there for Armagang's Belgian Beer Festival, and one day we went on over to Cooperstown Distillery, which is a fairly new distillery in the historic city, and we palled around with owner Eugene Mara, and he busted on me because I said, "What is Fenimore?" There's a gin here called Fenimore gin. He looked at me like I had three heads and said, "You don't really? You don't know what Fenimore is?" And I'm like, "No, what's Fenimore?" He says, "James Fenimore Cooper, the famous novelist who wrote The Last Mohicans." And I felt like a complete dummy. But in any event, we're going to get into the Fenimore gin here today. Also, what Cooperstown Distillery puts out is a vodka. I don't have it, but they release it in a couple of different formats, a standard bottle, and then they have a commemorative baseball bottle shaped, like a baseball with all the seams on it. That's an exact replica of a baseball, and that's a super nice clean vodka. They also make this here Sam Smith's Boatyard Rum, which was recently released, and they put out a bourbon called Beanball Bourbon. It's a 5 or 6 year old bourbon. So they're doing all kind of neat stuff, and today we're going to get into this here Fenimore gin. So let's throw a little bit into the glass and nose her up and taste her and see what she all about. Now, before we drink it, let's talk about how it's made and what it's made from. The base spirit here is distilled from wheat, and in particular organic wheat grown in upstate New York in the Finger Lakes region. And it's twice distilled in 145-liter Carl steel. And then what they do is they infuse all the botanicals during the distillation. And there's 14 botanicals. Whereas most gins have 6 or 8 botanicals, these dudes put 14 in here. And everything from, if I can get my glasses on here, everything from juniper, of course, to orange peel, nutmeg, rose petals, eucalyptus, that's an interesting one, lilac, lavender, chamomile, another flower, mallow root, that's one you don't come across too often, cardamom, lemon peel, vanilla, and 2 more secret ones that they won't tell us about. And all these botanicals are vapor infused into the gin, and what they do is they lend a really neat profile. And when I was up there, I said to Gene, I said, this is one of the more interesting gins I've ever had, and I don't know if I've ever had one exactly like it, because it's not real juniper forward. The juniper's in there, but what I like about it is it's not overly citrusy, it's not overly herbally, it's somewhere like right in the middle of juniper, herbal, and citrus, and it's just so wonderfully composed that it makes a very unique spirit, and one that I think would make a dynamite cocktail. But let's get into it here and nose it up just a little bit. I'm picking up the juniper here, but the citrus tones of the lemon and the orange are jumping out at me here. And I'm getting something like a little bit of a vanilla note, but I get this herbal back note, probably from the chamomile and the mallow root, and it's just really nice. Almost remind me a little bit of I get the nutmeg in there too. It reminds me a little bit of like lemon thyme. I don't know if y'all have ever had lemon thyme, but it's got a little bit of that herbally tones mixed in with the citrus notes. And you can pick up that cardamom slightly in the background too. Really interesting on the nostrils here. I bet this would make a dynamite French 675, a French 75, maybe a good bee's knees, or even a good gimlet. I think this would mix very well in those cocktails. The nose is just so enticing. Let's give a little whirl on the palate, see what we find in here. Mm. Mm. Really liking the balance on this thing here. I love how the citrus tones pop out at you, and then the juniper's in there, kind of in the middle note. You get a little bit of the herbaceousness on the back note. It's just such a unique gin. And I really recommend you just sip it. If you get it, buy it, put it in the glass, and just sip it a little bit and to understand the real potential of what the spirit has. It's a fine sipper just on its own, but I think the cocktail thing would be pretty good too. Now, 80 proof, 40% alcohol by volume. So, heck, man, this is one of the more interesting gins that I've ever had, and I love it. And I hope you all get a chance to try it. So next time you're up in New York, please visit Cooperstown Distillery. And Cooperstown, by the way, it is a beautiful historic city. The spirit's named for James Fenimore Cooper, of course. We talked about that before. And his father, William Cooper, actually founded the town of Cooperstown a long time ago, probably 200 so years ago, and maybe even longer than that. Because you know me with my history, I'm a little fuzzy on the history and get in trouble because I don't know my history. But in any event, check out Cooperstown Distillery. You can find them on the web at cooperstowndistillery.com. Oh, and we're going to feature Cooperstown Distillery as a Distillery of the Month for October on mainstreetdistilleries.com. So I have a real neat article coming up there, and hopefully we're going to get back soon and review these spirits. You can find me, I'm E-Man Booze, on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and of course I write the Distillery of the Month column for mainstreetdistilleries.com. When you get your butt on up to New York, don't forget to visit Cooperstown Distillery. Bye, you all!